afraid. It's the wizard who should be afraid of me.
With Wicked currently taking the world by storm both in theaters and on social media, I thought it would be exciting to take a look back at the history of the Land of Oz being represented at theme parks and other types of attractions. From the original L. Frank Baum books to the timeless 1939 film, The Wizard of Oz has become a major part of pop culture over the last 100 years. It all started in 1900 when author L. Frank Baum published The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Baum was heavily influenced by Lewis Carroll's 1865 novel Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, taking inspiration to have a child as the protagonist to make the story more relatable to younger readers. The book was an instant success, captivating readers with its story of a young girl named Dorothy Gale, her dog Toto, and the friends she meets along the way, including the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion. Illustrator W. W. Denslow would aid Baum in the development of Oz within the early illustrations created for the book. In 1902, the first stage version of The Wizard of Oz would premiere in Chicago and eventually Broadway in 1903. The show would successfully tour around the United States until 1911. However, the exorbitant cost of the show would bankrupt Baum. By 1904, among financial difficulties and thousands of fan letters asking for more Oz books, Baum would publish the first sequel, The Marvelous Land of Oz. He would end up writing 13 sequels and a half a dozen Oz short stories before his death in 1919. With the world of cinema being in its early days, the first Wizard of Oz film was produced in 1910. Partly based on the stage musical and produced without any input from Baum, it was the beginning of the Wizard of Oz being represented in film. However, it wouldn't be until 1939 that the world of Oz would forever be cemented into pop culture with MGM's The Wizard of Oz. Directed by Victor Fleming and starring Judy Garland as Dorothy, it brought Oz to life with groundbreaking Technicolor visuals, unforgettable music, and timeless performances. When The Wizard of Oz premiered, it was a modest success, but it was television that transformed it into a cultural phenomenon. The film's first TV broadcast in 1956 drew an audience of 45 million viewers, solidifying its place in American pop culture.
Fly, my pretties, fly! Continue the research.
In the 1950s, the Walt Disney Company would purchase the right to 12 of the 14 Oz books, with plans to use it for the Disneyland TV show. However, these plans wouldn't materialize and the rights would eventually fall into the public domain. Disney would try to make their own Oz films with Return to Oz in 1985 and Oz the Great and Powerful in 2013, without having any of the success seen from the original 1939 film. In 1962, resort developer Grover Robbins purchased land on top of Beach Mountain in North Carolina with plans to turn it into a new tourist destination. In 1966, artist Jack Penties traveled to the top of Beach Mountain to come up with ideas to transform the area into an attraction. He saw the natural terrain, emerald grass, twisted trees, bringing to mind the Land of Oz. Construction would not begin until 1969, with the attraction's soft opening on June 15, 1970. Actress Debbie Reynolds was in attendance to do the ribbon cutting with her daughter Carrie Fisher only 7 years before Star Wars. 400,000 people would end up visiting within the first year. A ski lift was specially designed to become a hot air balloon ride. In the later years, characters from the story conducted tours, but the original design was for the visitor to assume the role of Dorothy Gale, experiencing everything from Kansas to the tornado to the meeting of the characters on the yellow brick road. The visit culminated in the Emerald City, where Dorothy appeared with her friends to meet the wizard. A small museum showcased props and costumes from the original MGM film, including one of Judy Garland's Dorothy dresses. These items were jointly bought by the park and Debbie Reynolds directly from MGM. By 1975, between the ongoing gas crisis and the bankruptcy of the attraction's parent company, a closing was imminent. On Sunday, December 28, 1975, the Emerald City Amphitheater and the surrounding gift shops caught on fire. 2 buildings were completely destroyed, along with the park's offices, costumes, sound equipment, and props. At the same time, many items from the park's museum were stolen, including Judy Garland's Dorothy dress and a gatekeeper's jacket. A new company came in and tried to rebuild, but they were not able to recoup what was lost. The park officially closed in 1980. After the park was closed, much of it fell into disrepair. Props were vandalized, stolen, or left exposed to the elements. In 1988, a reunion union of park employees was held, and the idea of a park reopening was discussed. The Land of Oz would open for one day only on July 4th, 1991, drawing over 4,000 guests. The attraction would continue to open for special events and seasons all the way up until this day. While the Land of Oz has been known to the locals of North Carolina for many years, the most known and fondly remembered Oz attraction was once located at a Disney theme park. Opening with Disney MGM Studios on May 1st, 1989, the Great Movie Ride brought guests through recreations of iconic scenes through the history of the movies. This included scenes from Singing in the Rain, Mary Poppins, and as we've discussed in previous videos, Alien and Raiders of the Lost Ark. The ride vehicle passes a film projection of Mickey Mouse in his role of the Sorcerer's Apprentice from the 1940 Walt Disney animated film Fantasia. The shape of the screen can clearly be seen to look like a tornado. Allegedly, the licensing fees from MGM were determined minute by minute. That made them so expensive that Disney decided to only use the Oz characters in the following scenes. Guests would enter the Land of Oz through Munchkinland. Audio animatronic munchkins begin to appear from various places and sing as they welcome guests to their home. However, a plume of smoke suddenly rises from the ground and an audio animatronic Wicked Witch of the West appears and asks who is responsible for killing the Wicked Witch of the East. The Wicked Witch was the first A100 model animatronic for Disney and introduced a much more fluid and realistic movement to this type of animatronic. The driver of the ride vehicle threatens to drop a house on her as well, and she disappears into a puff of smoke. The Munchkins reappear from their hiding places and begin to sing along as they say to follow the yellow brick road. As the ride vehicle moves along, we pass animatronic figures of Dorothy, the Scarecrow, Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion standing in front of Emerald City. The Great Movie Ride would officially close on August 13th, 2017 to make way for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which does have a tornado scene in the spot where the Fantasia Mickey used to be. Meanwhile, over in the desert oasis of Las Vegas, the MGM Grand would open on December 18, 1993. The 30-story towers were designed in emerald to be evocative of the Wizard of Oz, which would come apparently clear once entering the building. Within, you would find a massive display of the Emerald City, greeting guests with Dorothy and her friends traveling down the yellow brick road. Above would be the Wizard in his hot air balloon and a projection show across the ceiling dome. Entering into the Emerald City, guests would walk through recreations of scenes from the 1939 film portrayed by animatronics. Once fully into the Emerald City itself, guests would sit down for a magic show. After leaving the magic show, the Land of Oz was recreated throughout the rest of the casino floor, including an animatronic of Glinda the Good Witch. The attraction would only last until 1996, where it was demolished in order to make way for more slot machines. In 1995, Gregory Maguire's novel Wicked would be released as a revisionist look at the backstory of the Wicked Witch of the West. He would name his main character Elphaba after L. Frank Baum. Elphaba. It would pose the question, are people born wicked, or do they have wickedness thrust upon them? Maguire would eventually release the rights to the book to Universal. Meanwhile, composer and lyricist Stephen Schwartz read the book and thought it would make a great show. By 1998, Schwartz would convince Maguire and Universal producer Mark Platt to create a stage adaptation. The original Broadway production would open in 2003 with Idina Menzel playing Elphaba.
Please welcome the wickedly talented one and only Adele Dazeem.
And Christian Chenoweth playing Glinda. The success of the Broadway production has spawned many productions worldwide, including a long-running West End production and multiple national tours, becoming one of the most successful Broadway shows of all time. While the show takes inspiration from the 1939 Wizard of Oz film, due to copyright issues, the story leans more into what was represented in the original Baum books. Over at Universal Studios Japan, they would open their own Land of Oz in 2006. This small area of the park included an animal trick show called Toto and Friends, the magical Oz Go Round, characters walking around and meeting with guests, and within the Emerald City, an abridged version of the Wicked musical. The show was condensed to only 35 minutes, using certain songs like One Short Day, What Is This Feeling, The Wizard and I, and of course, Defying Gravity. The Land of Oz would remain open only until 2011. A fully themed Oz land wouldn't come to a theme park again until 2024, with the Wizard of Oz precinct at Warner Brothers Movie World in Australia. Opening on December 20th of 2024, this new area of the theme park would include a rainbow entrance tunnel, character meet and greets, a display of Munchkin Land, and the entrance to the Emerald City complete with the wizard waiting inside. This new land also includes a suspended family coaster called Flight of the Wicked Witch, and a boomerang racer coaster named Kansas Twister. Other than some interesting cues, the new area seems a bit barren compared to the immersiveness of a Disney or Universal theme park. While we've talked about the different attractions that have come to be so far, there was one Oz theme park connection that never came to be, and that was the Wonderful World of Oz theme park planned for one of the most appropriate places, Kansas. The idea for an Oz theme park had been around since the 1980s, but the conceptual work didn't really start until the early 1990s. The park was to occupy 55 acres, with a planned 900 additional acres to cover things like a 300-room hotel and a shopping district. Landmark Entertainment Group would design the concept for the Oz park, splitting it into 6 themed areas. Old Kansas, which would have a tornado ride to hurl guests into the Land of Oz, Munchkin Land, Yellow Brick Country, the Haunted Forest where the Wicked Witch would live, the Northern Kingdom, the land of Glinda the Good Witch, and of course the Emerald City, with a rainbow going down the middle of the park to allow guests to go back and forth from Kansas to the Land of Oz. The project was in development for many years, going back and forth with local governments and production budgets. In 1997, NASCAR was looking to use the same land that was proposed for the Oz park. The Oz development team was then forced to find another piece of land. They found land that was once occupied by a World War II ordnance factory, but it would have cost them $100 to $120 million to clean up the land after a half a century of highly combustible chemicals being seeped into the ground. After climbing to a budget of $861 million in the year of 2000 and looking for tax breaks from the local governments, the project would eventually be scrapped after a significant downturn in tourism after 9/11. It definitely would have been interesting to have a full theme park themed around the Wizard of Oz. It shows the possibilities of a Oz theme park and the interest in the property as a whole. On November 22nd, 2024, Universal Pictures would officially release the highly anticipated film adaptation of Part 1 of Wicked. The film would garner praise from both audiences and critics alike. As of this video, the film is nominated for 4 Golden Globes, including Best Picture. Universal would open a Wicked-themed store at Universal Studios Orlando as a promotion for the film. The store would include various displays of props and costumes from the movie, along with merchandise for purchase. Over at Universal Studios Singapore, they would turn a part of the park into the Emerald City, with appearances by Elphaba, Glinda, and even the Wizard. The first Wicked film has brought a brand new generation into the Land of Oz, which in turn brings the original Wizard of Oz back into the current pop culture. It would definitely be exciting to get more Oz-themed attractions in theme parks within the United States, and with Wicked's popularity, it is very possible that may happen in the future. At the beginning of 2024, a stage version of the 1939 film was even opened as part of Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas ship, showing the cultural impact and popularity of the Wizard of Oz will continue to live on for many, many years to come.
Goodbye, Tin Man.
Goodbye, Dorothy.
Goodbye, Lion.
Goodbye, Dorothy.
And I think I'll miss you most of all, Scarecrow.
Oh, okay. It's kind of an odd thing to say.
Yeah, sort of a weird comment right in front of all of us.
Kind of thought this was a team effort.
Yeah, really glad I risked my life and everything.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey down the Yellow Brick Road. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and let us know in the comments below what your favorite Oz film or TV show is. Whether you're a first-time visitor or a lifelong fan, Oz always has something new to discover. Until next time, remember, there's no place like home.